The Harmonious Accord survey vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight like scattered diamonds. Commander Naira Voss stood at the command center, her luminescent scales shifting from deep purple to anticipatory gold as she prepared for what should have been a routine first contact mission. The Accord had spent millennia guiding primitive civilizations toward peaceful space travel, teaching them the ways of diplomatic cooperation before they reached beyond their atmospheres. Earth had been scheduled for another evaluation in 50 years, plenty of time, by their calculations, for the humans to master basic industrial technology. Commander, First Observer Ken's telepathic voice carried notes of confusion. I'm detecting thousands of artificial signatures in orbit around the third planet. His sensor tendrils waved in agitation as data streamed through the ship's neural interface. These readings, they can't be correct. Naira moved to the observation sphere, her expert eyes widening at the sight before her. Earth's orbit bustled with activity, massive stations, defense platforms, and ships of varying sizes moved in precise patterns. But what truly shocked her was the level of technological advancement on display. The humans hadn't just reached space, they'd colonized it. Full analysis, she commanded, her voice steady despite her growing unease. The Accord's most recent survey, barely 2 centuries ago, had shown humans just beginning to understand steam power. This level of advancement should have been impossible. Their defensive grid, Ken reported, it's unlike anything in our database. The energy signatures suggest capabilities matching or exceeding our own. And their ships. He paused, double-checking his readings. They're built like fortresses, Commander. Every vessel, even their civilian craft, carries significant defensive capabilities. Before Naira could respond, a transmission cut through their communications array, the signal precision indicating advanced technological sophistication. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Earth-controlled space. Maintain your current position and prepare for security screening. Any deviation will be considered a potential threat. The voice was calm but carried unmistakable authority. Through the observation sphere, Naira watched as 3 human vessels emerged from behind Earth's moon, their designs a stark contrast to the Accord's organic architecture. These ships were angular, armored, and bristling with what appeared to be weapon systems, yet they moved with a grace that spoke of masterful engineering. Their engines, Ken observed, his scientific curiosity overriding his initial alarm. They're using a form of gravity manipulation we've never encountered. And their sensors. Commander, they're already scanning our entire vessel, down to the molecular level. Naira felt her diplomatic training strain against the reality before her. The Accord had spent thousands of years teaching species to embrace peace before power, to choose cooperation over conflict. Yet here was humanity, having achieved something unprecedented. They'd built a spacefaring civilization founded on protection rather than aggression. Responding to their hail, she announced. This is Commander Naira Voss of the Harmonious Accord vessel Dawning Light. We come in peace and request diplomatic contact. The response came swiftly, accompanied by a detailed set of approach vectors and security protocols. Welcome, Commander Voss. Follow the transmitted coordinates to Station Aegis Prime. Our diplomatic team awaits your arrival. Please note that all defensive measures remain active during your approach. As they followed the designated path, Naira studied the human constructions they passed. Each structure showed remarkable efficiency in design. Research stations doubled as defensive positions, cargo vessels carried shield generators that could protect entire flotillas, and even their space elevators incorporated point defense systems. They've built their entire civilization around the concept of protection, Ken observed, his tendrils now waving in fascination rather than concern. But not just military defense, look at those planetary shield emitters. They're calibrated to defend against everything from asteroids to solar flares. Naira nodded slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. The humans hadn't built these defenses out of fear or aggression, but out of a deep-seated drive to safeguard what they held dear. While the Accord had evolved in a galaxy of guided development and shared knowledge, humanity had developed in isolation, preparing for every possibility while hoping for the best. As their ship approached Aegis Prime, Naira caught her first true glimpse of Earth through the station's massive observation windows. The planet was beautiful: blue oceans, white clouds, and green continents crossed by the lights of civilization. But unlike any world she'd ever visited, this one was embraced by a web of defensive platforms that glinted like protective stars against the void. "Prepare for diplomatic contact," she ordered her crew, then added, "and send a priority message to the Accord Council. Tell them we've encountered something unprecedented, a species that reached the stars not through guidance, but through their own path. A civilization that built shields before bridges, yet seems to understand the value of both." As their ship locked into position at Aegis Prime's diplomatic dock, Naira felt a mixture of trepidation and excitement. The Accord had come to guide, but she suspected they might instead find themselves learning lessons that millennia of peace had never taught them. The humans' path to the stars might have been unconventional, but perhaps it was exactly what the galaxy needed. The universe, she was beginning to realize, was far less predictable than the Accord had assumed. And humanity, with its iron giants and protective instincts, might just be the key to its future. Fleet Admiral Regina Torres stood before the assembled Accord delegation in Aegis Prime's Grand Conference Chamber, her weathered face illuminated by holographic displays showing Earth's defense network. 2 weeks had passed since first contact, and initial wariness had given way to cautious fascination on both sides. "The Aegis Protocol," Torres explained, gesturing to a simulation of Earth's orbital defense grid, "wasn't born from fear of the unknown. It was born from understanding our place in the cosmos." The hologram shifted, showing the evolution of Earth's space presence over the past century. "Every shield we built, every weapon we developed, served a dual purpose: to protect and to preserve." Commander Naira Voss moved closer to the display, her scales shifting to a shade of curious azure. "But the resources required, the sheer scale of infrastructure, your species could have focused on expansion, exploration, or technological advancement in other areas." A slight smile crossed Torres's face. "Who says we didn't?" With a gesture, she expanded the holographic display. New images appeared: research stations studying dark matter, colonies thriving on terraformed worlds, massive engineering projects harnessing the power of stars. Every defensive innovation drove advancement in other fields. "The same technology that powers our shield grid? It's the foundation of our clean energy network. Those sensor arrays watching for threats? They've helped us map more of space in a century than we thought possible in a millennium." First observer Ken's tendrils waved in excitement as he analyzed the technical specifications. "Your approach to technology, it's recursive. Each advancement builds upon itself, serving multiple functions." "Necessity breeds innovation," offered Dr. Isabella Patel, Earth's Chief of Defense Research. "When we first reached space, we knew we were vulnerable, not just to potential threats, but to the fundamental dangers of the cosmos itself. Solar flares, radiation, micrometeorites, space itself can be hostile. So we learned to adapt, to protect, to prepare." As if to emphasize her point, a priority alert flashed across the command center screens. A rogue asteroid, nearly invisible against the backdrop of space, had been detected on a collision course with one of Earth's outer colonies. Before the Accord delegation could react, they watched in amazement as the defense grid smoothly responded. Defensive platforms realigned, creating a gravitational corridor. Mining vessels, already equipped with powerful cutting beams for resource extraction, moved into position. Within minutes, the asteroid was safely redirected, its valuable minerals marked for future harvesting. "You see," Torres continued, "every system we build serves multiple purposes. What can deflect an asteroid can also clear debris from shipping lanes. What can detect an incoming threat can also guide ships through dangerous regions. We built our civilization on the principle of comprehensive security, not just against conflict, but against any challenge we might face. Naira's scales shifted to a thoughtful green. In the Accord, we never needed such measures. We grew together, protected each other, shared our knowledge freely. A beautiful way to evolve, Torres acknowledged, but humanity had to find its own path. We reached the stars carrying the lessons of our history, determined to face whatever awaited us. Not just prepared for the worst, but ready to work for the best. The conversation was interrupted by another alert, this one from deep space. An automated mining operation in the Kuiper belt had detected unusual energy signatures, well beyond known space lanes. Dr. Patel pulled up the data, her expression turning serious as she studied the readings. These patterns, Ken observed, his scientific curiosity evident, they're unlike anything in either of our databases. Torres and Naira exchanged glances, both recognizing the significance of the moment. Commander Voss, Torres offered, would your delegation be interested in a joint investigation? The EDS Hyperion is prepped for deep space reconnaissance. She's one of our most advanced research vessels, though like all our ships, she's fully capable of defending herself. The Accord delegation huddled together, their scales shifting through various colors as they communicated telepathically. Finally, Naira turned back to Torres. We accept. The Accord's scientific expertise, combined with your defensive capabilities, perhaps this is an opportunity to demonstrate the strengths of both our approaches. As preparations began for the joint mission, Dr. Patel activated a detailed hologram of the Hyperion. The ship was a testament to humanity's philosophy, bristling with sensors and defensive systems, yet primarily designed for peaceful exploration. Its very existence embodied the principle that had guided Earth's expansion into space: hope for the best, prepare for everything else. There's something else you should know, Torres added, her tone growing more serious. Over the past few years, we've detected similar energy signatures in other remote regions. Small patterns, easily dismissed, but forming a troubling picture when viewed together. We've been quietly strengthening our defensive capabilities in response. Naira's scales shifted to a deep purple of concern. You suspect a pattern? A potential threat? We suspect the galaxy might be more complex than either of our civilizations assumed, Torres replied. The Accord grew through peace and guidance. Earth grew through preparation and protection. Perhaps the truth of what awaits us needs both approaches. As the human and Accord teams began their mission preparations, Naira found herself reflecting on the strange path that had brought them here. Her people had come to guide what they thought would be a primitive civilization, only to find a species that had forged its own way to the stars. A species that had built its future on the foundation of protection, yet remained open to peaceful cooperation. The Hyperion's engines began their warm-up sequence, its powerful frame humming with potential. Soon, representatives of two very different approaches to civilization would venture into the unknown together. Whatever they found there would test both humanity's preparedness and the Accord's wisdom, and perhaps forge a new path for both their peoples. The EDS Hyperion sliced through the void at the edge of known space, its advanced sensors probing the darkness ahead. On the bridge, Commander Naira Voss stood beside Captain Marcus Way, their unlikely partnership a symbol of the rapid changes sweeping through both their civilizations. Energy signature intensifying, reported Science Officer Raina Patel, her fingers dancing across the neural interface that merged human and Accord technology. The pattern matches what we detected in the Kuiper belt, but orders of magnitude stronger. Way nodded, his expression thoughtful as he studied the tactical display. In the 3 months since the joint mission began, they'd followed a trail of mysterious energy signatures across increasingly distant sectors. Each discovery had raised more questions than answers. Multiple objects approaching from Fold Space, announced Tactical Officer Jason Burke, his augmented eyes narrowing at the readings. Configuration unknown. No match in either Earth or Accord databases. The objects emerged from fold space like tears in reality, massive ships of obsidian and chrome, their designs a disturbing fusion of organic and mechanical elements. They moved with unnatural precision, their very presence seeming to distort the space around them. "By the stars," Ken whispered, his sensor tendrils rigid with shock. "Those energy signatures, they're using corrupted versions of Accord technology." "But that's impossible. Our systems can't be modified to work that way." "Reading weapons charged," Burke reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "They're powered by something similar to our antimatter cores, but the containment patterns are all wrong. It's like they're deliberately destabilizing the reaction." Before anyone could respond, a transmission cut through their communications array. The image that appeared on the main viewer caused both humans and Accord members to recoil. The being was vaguely humanoid, but its form was a nightmare of cybernetic enhancement and biological modification. When it spoke, its voice was a chorus of mechanical and organic tones. "Children of Earth and Accord," it said, its words carrying an undercurrent of ancient malice. "Your journey ends here. We are the Nexus. For millennia, we have watched from the spaces between stars, studying your pathetic attempts at civilization. The Accord spreads weakness through peace. Humanity builds walls against shadows they cannot see. Both approaches are flawed. Both will be corrected." Captain Wei stepped forward, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to facing the unknown. "You're in violation of multiple sovereign territories and have demonstrated hostile intent. Identify your true purpose or be designated as an active threat." The Nexus being's expression might have been amusement, but it was hard to tell through its cybernetic modifications. "Purpose? We are the inevitable result of evolution. When the first species reached for the stars, we were there. When they grew soft through peace, we consumed them. When they grew strong through war, we corrupted them. All paths lead to us." Naira's scales had shifted to a deep crimson of alarm, but her voice remained steady. "The ancient ruins we found throughout the galaxy, the mysterious disappearances of early spacefaring races, that was you? We are the Great Filter," the being confirmed. "The test that every civilization must face. The Accord teaches species to be weak, making them easy prey. But you humans." It turned its disturbing gaze to Wei. "You built your defenses without knowing what waited in the dark. Impressive. Perhaps you could be upgraded instead of eliminated." Wei's response was immediate: "We decline." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Lieutenant Burke, upload our sensor data to the quantum relay. If we don't make it back, Earth and the Accord need to know what they're facing." The Hyperion's transformation from exploration vessel to warship was seamless. Armor plates shifted, weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments, and the ship's energy matrix reconfigured for combat. The Accord crew members watched in amazement as systems they had thought purely scientific revealed deadly capabilities. "Multiple hostile launches detected," Burke reported. "Energy weapons charging. Their tech, it's like they've taken everything both our species developed and twisted it into weapons. They've been studying us all along," Naira realized, her scales shifting through patterns of understanding and horror. Every peaceful world the Accord guided, every defensive measure humanity created, they were watching, learning, adapting. "Then let's show them something new," Wei declared. "Dr. Patel, initiate the Aegis protocol modifications we discussed. Commander Voss, we could use some of that Accord insight into spacetime manipulation right about now." What followed was unlike any battle in recorded history. The Hyperion, designed by humans who had always prepared for the unknown and now enhanced with Accord technology, faced enemies that wielded corrupted versions of both civilizations' achievements. Every defensive technique humanity had developed was tested. Every peaceful application of Accord science was turned to survival. The Nexus ships attacked with weapons that shouldn't have been possible, beams of corrupted energy that twisted space itself, missiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, fields of artificial gravity that could tear a normal ship apart. But the Hyperion endured. Hull integrity at 60%, Burke reported as another blast rocked the ship. But the adaptive shielding is learning. Each hit is less effective than the last. Quantum entanglement drive spooling up, Patel added. The Accord modifications are holding. We can make the jump to warn both our peoples. Wei shared a look with Naira. In just 3 months, their species had learned more from each other than either had discovered in centuries of separate development. Now, facing an enemy that threatened everything they had built, that cooperation might be their only hope. Make the jump, Wei ordered. But first, Burke, target their lead ship. Let's show them what happens when you combine humanity's determination with Accord ingenuity. The Hyperion's main weapon charged, a hybrid of human antimatter technology and Accord spacetime manipulation. The beam that lanced out struck the Nexus vessel with the force of a small supernova, the impact rippling through multiple dimensions of spacetime. As the enemy ship disintegrated, the Hyperion made its desperate jump through space. They had survived the first encounter, but this was just the beginning. The galaxy's greatest predator had finally revealed itself, and neither humanity's shields nor the Accord's peace would be enough on their own. The real test was about to begin. The combined war room of Aegis Prime hummed with activity as holographic displays showed the advancing Nexus fleet. Fleet Admiral Torres and High Commander Celera of the Accord stood side by side, watching as the enemy pushed through the outer defense lines of both their territories. They're not just attacking military targets, Torres observed, her face illuminated by the tactical displays. They're targeting civilian infrastructure, research stations, even agricultural colonies. They're trying to break our ability to sustain ourselves. Celera's crystalline scales shifted to deep azure, a color of grim determination. The Nexus understands that our strength lies in our unity. They seek to isolate and divide us. She gestured to a sector map showing dozens of refugee ships fleeing from occupied systems. Already, 3 Accord worlds have fallen. Their defensive capabilities were insufficient. The door slid open as Captain Wei and Commander Voss entered, still bearing marks from their encounter at the edge of space. Their report from the Hyperion had catalyzed both civilizations into action, but the enemy was moving faster than anyone had anticipated. The Hyperion sensor logs have been fully analyzed, Wei reported. The Nexus ships aren't just using corrupted versions of our technology, they're actively adapting it during combat. Each engagement makes them stronger. Then we adapt faster, came a new voice. Dr. Patel strode into the war room, accompanied by First Observer Ken. Their unlikely partnership had produced remarkable results in the weeks since the first Nexus encounter. We've completed the integration trials. Project Guardian is ready. The holographic display shifted, showing a new class of vessel. It combined the organic flowing lines of Accord design with the pragmatic defensibility of human engineering. But more than that, it represented a true fusion of both civilizations' philosophies. The Guardian-class vessels, Patel explained, incorporate everything we've learned from each other. Accord quantum manipulation drives merged with human antimatter power cores. Biological neural interfaces working in harmony with AI tactical systems. And most importantly, adaptive defense grids that can protect entire sectors. The first ship, Guardian Prime, completes construction in 6 hours, Torres added. But the Nexus fleet will reach the Perseus colony before then. 2 million civilians are in harm's way. Then we hold the line, Wei declared. The Hyperion's modifications proved we can hurt them. We just need to buy enough time for the evacuation. The next hours were a blur of activity as every available ship from both civilizations converged on the Perseus sector. The Accord vessels, traditionally designed for peaceful exploration, had been hastily retrofitted with human defensive technology. Earth's warships now carried Accord sensor suites that could predict enemy movements through quantum probability mapping. Guardian Prime's construction crews worked at unprecedented speed, human determination meeting Accord precision. As the massive vessel took shape in orbit around Earth, the first waves of Nexus ships entered the Perseus system. Multiple hostile signatures detected, announced the Perseus Defense Command. They're, by the stars, they're everywhere. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. Human ships fought with desperate courage, their crews pushing experimental weapons to their limits. Accord vessels danced through spacetime, using their mastery of quantum mechanics to appear where they were least expected. But the Nexus was relentless. For every ship they lost, 2 more emerged from fold space. Their weapons grew more devastating with each engagement, incorporating the best aspects of both civilizations' technology and twisting them into instruments of destruction. Perseus colony evacuation at 60%, reported the command center. But the orbital defense grid is failing. We need more time. At that moment, Guardian Prime made its historic first jump into battle. The massive ship emerged from quantum space like an avenging angel, its hybrid system singing with power. Where other ships had to choose between human resilience and Accord maneuverability, Guardian Prime wielded both with devastating effect. All ships, form up on Guardian Prime, Torres commanded. Coordinate your attacks through the neural network. Show them what unity really means. The tide began to turn. Guardian Prime's advanced shields could absorb the Nexus's adaptive weapons, while its hybrid offensive systems struck back with unprecedented force. More than that, it served as a command and control platform, coordinating the combined fleet with an efficiency neither civilization had achieved alone. Evacuation complete, came the report from Perseus colony. But the Nexus is pressing their advantage. They're trying to cut off our retreat. Not today, Wei declared from the Hyperion's bridge. All ships, execute Operation Stalwart Shield. Just like we practiced. The combined fleet moved as one. Human vessels formed an outer ring of steel and determination, their shields overlapping in complex patterns. Accord ships wove through quantum space between them, their exotic weapons striking at the Nexus fleet from impossible angles. At the center, Guardian Prime's massive form pulsed with energy as it coordinated the entire defense. Enemy ships attempting to adapt, Ken reported from Guardian Prime's sensor suite. But they can't match our rate of innovation. Every time they counter one approach, we shift to another. The battle raged for hours, but in the end, the Nexus fleet retreated, leaving behind a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. The Perseus sector had been saved, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. In Guardian Prime's command center, Torres and Celera watched the after-action reports with grim satisfaction. They'll be back, Torres noted. And they'll be stronger. As will we, Celera replied, her scales shifting to a color of hope. What happened here today, it's more than just a victory. It's proof that our peoples are stronger together than apart. They thought they could use our differences against us, Torres agreed. Instead, those differences became our greatest strength. As cleanup operations began, Guardian Prime stood watch over the Perseus sector. The massive ship was more than just a weapon or a shield, it was a symbol of what could be achieved when determination met wisdom, when protection merged with peace. The Nexus had sought to exploit the gap between human and Accord philosophies, only to find that gap had become a bridge. The real war was just beginning, but for the first time, both civilizations faced it with true hope. Together, they would forge a path that neither could have walked alone. 1 year after the Battle of Perseus, the Great Hall of Aegis Prime hosted a gathering unprecedented in galactic history. Representatives from both the Accord and Earth stood together, watching as the newly completed Guardian network came online. Massive holographic displays showed defensive platforms activating across multiple sectors, each one a testament to the combined ingenuity of both civilizations. Fleet Admiral Torres, her uniform bearing new insignia representing both Earth and Accord authority, addressed the assembled dignitaries. A year ago, we faced an enemy that believed our differences made us weak. The Nexus sought to exploit the gap between human preparedness and Accord wisdom. Instead, they taught us that true strength lies in unity. High Commander Celera stepped forward, her scales shimmering with colors of pride and hope. The Guardian Network represents more than just a defensive grid. It embodies a new philosophy, one that combines humanity's protective instincts with our commitment to peaceful cooperation. The displays shifted to show footage from recent encounters with the Nexus. The cybernetic beings had continued their attacks, but each assault had met with increasingly coordinated resistance. The Guardian-class vessels, now numbering in the dozens, had become the backbone of a new combined fleet. "They're still out there," Captain Wei noted from his position near the tactical displays. "Still adapting, still learning. But so are we." His own ship, the Hyperion, had become a template for a new generation of hybrid vessels that incorporated the best aspects of both civilizations' technology. Commander Voss, recently promoted to Director of Joint Operations, brought up a new set of readings. The Nexus attacks have decreased by 70% in the last 3 months. More importantly, we're seeing changes in their tactics. They're learning that every attack makes us stronger, more unified. Dr. Patel and First Observer Ken stepped forward together, their collaborative work having revolutionized both societies' understanding of technology. "The Guardian Network isn't just about defense," Patel explained. "Each platform serves multiple functions: research, exploration, humanitarian aid. We've taken humanity's concept of dual-purpose design and expanded it to encompass all aspects of civilization." More importantly, Ken added, his sensor tendrils moving with excitement, "We've begun sharing this technology with other species. The Accord's mission of guidance continues, but now we teach balance rather than just peace." The displays showed scenes from across known space, Accord worlds incorporating human defensive innovations, Earth colonies adopting Accord biological technology, and new civilizations learning from both. The galaxy was transforming, finding a middle path between preparation and peace. "There have been costs," Torres acknowledged, her expression momentarily somber. "Worlds lost, lives changed forever. The Nexus forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about our assumptions. The Accord learned that peace without strength invites predation. Earth learned that walls alone cannot guarantee survival. But from those lessons," Celera continued, "we've forged something new. The Guardian Concordat isn't just an alliance, it's a blueprint for civilization itself. Protection and progress, defense and diplomacy, working in harmony." The holographic displays shifted one final time, showing the latest Guardian-class vessel under construction. Unlike its predecessors, this one was being built collaboratively by multiple species, each contributing their unique perspectives and technologies. The Nexus believed they were the inevitable end of evolution, Wei observed. That all paths led to their version of perfection. Instead, they pushed us to evolve beyond anything they could have imagined. "They thought themselves the great filter," Voss added, her scales shifting to colors of determination. "The test that every civilization must face." Perhaps they were right, but not in the way they intended. "They taught us that survival depends not on strength alone, or peace alone, but on the wisdom to know when to employ each." The gathering moved to the observation deck, where Earth hung like a jewel in space. The planet's defensive grid had been upgraded with Accord technology, while the Accord's homeworlds now bristled with protection inspired by human innovation. But more than the physical changes, there was a new sense of purpose in both civilizations. "Look there," Torres pointed to a distant flash of light, another Guardian platform coming online. A year ago, that sector was contested space. Now it's a sanctuary for 3 different species, all learning to balance protection with progress. "The Nexus remains a threat," Celera acknowledged. "They will return, stronger and more adapted than before. But they'll find us changed as well. Every attack makes us more unified, every challenge brings our peoples closer together. As if to emphasize her point, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Long-range sensors had detected Nexus signatures approaching an outlying colony. But unlike the panic of a year ago, the response was calm and coordinated. Guardian Fleet, deploy at will, Torres ordered, watching as ships of both civilizations moved in perfect harmony. Show them what we've become. The assembled leaders watched as the combined fleet jumped to quantum space, their ships moving with grace and power that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. The Nexus had sought to prove that all paths led to them. Instead, they had forced the galaxy to forge a new path, one that led to something greater than either humanity or the Accord could have achieved alone. As the stars shone down on this new era, one truth became clear: the greatest defense wasn't in shields or weapons, but in the bonds between peoples. The legacy of the Iron Giants wasn't in their strength, but in their role as bridges between civilizations. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, that legacy continued to grow, a light of hope in a galaxy that had learned to be both strong and wise.